Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Wherever you are in the world, you are currently listening to the new way on Steampunk Radio. That's Steam with two E's. Most listeners may find Steampunk Radio via the TuneIn app on their device or on the TuneIn website. I'm Karen, standing in as your host for your regular show host, Dr. Lenny Time. It is Thursday, July 20, no, July 18th, although it could be July 28th, depending on what time frame or time zone I'm in. Either way, today's show is going to center around the driving force behind finding our reality.
Great. And so now a lot of the wisdom that people used to share with trees because they're on adjacent fractals seem to be lost in the way that the world works now. And this whole thing about climate change is just fear porn to get people scared. But there is a real message underneath the climate change, which is not taken celestially. But if you look at climate change as a function of the metabolism of a living planet, we've got to stop burning oil. We've got to stop wastefully using materials and start a balanced exchange with the earth that might even be unbalanced 60-40 in favor of the earth, just in order to restore the metabolism that keeps us all alive. And humans aren't used to thinking in different scales, but I think that the way the game works is that each time you win the game changes and you begin all over in a new game at ground level where the next game doesn't have the same rules as the game you just won has. And so you change yourself into something that won the previous game. Well, those traits no longer serve you in the next game. And so you have to learn a whole new skill set and a whole new level of discernment. And once you discern at the next level and realize what you were thinking at the past level doesn't serve you any longer, now you have to cobble the pieces together in a different form and check again to see what's happening. So I think we've been through this life and death experience so many times that death is quite real when other people die in our world, but when we die in our own world, we wake up and it's a near-death experience, not a death experience. But for others in that world, they now experience us as having leveled up and moved off the playing field. And so it's very interesting how it all works, and it's not exactly anything like it ever seems.
That you just articulated that in a way that I was struggling to articulate. That, and I think you're spot on. Michelle?
Yes, I'm gonna have to definitely play that back. I had to step
Yeah,
away for a moment. I'm sorry.
no worries. You definitely want to hear that back because, I mean, I have to play it back because it was touching every chord. I was just mesmerized at every word.
And
Like,
that's
oh
where
my
the
God.
gift of knowledge comes in.
Well, he was saying everything that I was struggling to say like 5 or 7 minutes ago. And it completely fits and makes sense. So thank you, Dr. Lenny.
Certainly. And I think Michelle is directly right on when she says that the basic set of everything is love, and that love tempers power because when you have the power, if you apply it with an application of love, then you can start doing things that might seem objectionable to a normal human, but they don't realize the scope of the problems that affect everybody. And so I really think it's important to build up from human scale and get groups working so that the group of people who have a mission to accomplish can accomplish that mission and then decide if there's more to go forward or if there's lateral movement or if you want to take a step back, reorganize, and send it off in a different direction. One of the things I've been struggling with is how to allow the players to create the game and yet still measure the game so that there's a relative score that the players can earn, but yet there's no scoring system in the game. What I score is not the players, I score the show. And so every show that we've gone, and we're now over 150 shows, has a show score. And the low ranking scores for the show are as valuable as the high ranking shows for the scoring shows because I set up the algorithm that if there's two people talking and in a conversation, that gets rewarded more than if there's 5 or 10 people talking in proportion to things. And so we're looking at a bell shaped curve where to be at the top of the peak is right in the middle of the muddle. And I don't want to be in the muddle. I want to be either on the beginning side going up or the ending side coming down. And I've always felt like an outlier in the statistics. So now that I've got enough statistics that we have statistical significance at that level that I've been working on, it's hard to take it and jump to the next level and have the game be different, but yet the same. And so I want to thank all the players in this game for making the game happen so quickly that I have to work again to create more game.
And
Dr. Land,
it is
tell me.
interesting to find people with synchronistic things happening with them, but it's also a good plan to have diverse gifts running with, you know, to have a full pack of community that's working together to branch out and bring people into the love instead of fear, the, you know, and asking why would this trigger me, or what's going on, or taking responsibility for our actions, and things like that. That kind of stuff can grow, and when people start thinking in the new way, this will be a huge change. Just like you're saying, you know, you want to diversify, you want to get your groups going, and I can see what you mean by your algorithm, because you know where the people are at also by this algorithm you've set up. Where are the people migrating? Are they still going towards fear? Or are they going towards knowledge? Are they going towards unconditional love? Are they, I mean, that will tell you so much. And that's the beauty of it.
I agree. I like that term you use, Michelle. You've got great terms. Full pack. A full pack. It's kind of like I was calling us the Motley Crew yesterday, but that's kind of what we have here is a full pack. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Diversity, different age generations, different experiences, different points of view, different references, different social roles in life, um, different family backgrounds, different time zones, different like everything. Um, I like that full pack.
Yes.
It's
And
been,
I'm sorry. Did you open the show to questions? I don't know. I was gone for a moment.
Oh, sure. You are listening to the New Way on Steampunk Radio. That's with two E's. We are talking to Michelle, a just general, all around wise and loving person who has their own YouTube channel and has taken interest in a great number of topics, and she's just an all around interesting person to talk to. And at this time, sure, why don't we open, if you have a question or a comment for Michelle based on what we've discussed this far, just on mic and let's hear what you have to say. Tamara?
yes, I want to say thank you because the time and the chances that have happened today have been a confirmation to me in my life. And have that things happen to you instead of focusing on the bad that's happening. I'm focusing on my love. You know, after the had the person has been in a situation where they're caught in that beat. And in that love, and I'm applying knowledge that the Father has been giving me, where I've gone in another direction, then but the knowledge has been applicable and usable in this area, and then the extra knowledge has been learned for this specific situation will never be able to be applied anywhere else but this one. And everything that you all said today confirmed it. And I want to thank you because God is speaking through you. Thank you.
Okay, Tamara, I had a little bit hard time understanding what you said. I got parts of it. I don't.
Yeah, I'm waiting for you to interpret.
Yes,
Well,
you hear me now?
um, it's almost like, are you too close to your mic?
Yes, basically.
Let me tell
I'm
you,
not a,
and I'm not doing this in jest, but it kind of. Do you know the teacher and Charlie Brown? It
thank you.
like every once in a while I hear an enunciated word, but all of the rest of it sounds like really digital, like it's like crammed together.
Mm-hmm. Does it help if I take the phone away from the speaker?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to thank you all today because the words you spoke were confirming the situation I was in, even to the point that the knowledge I've obtained for other situations that's brought into the situation I'm currently in. And I've obtained and learned more knowledge that will never be used again anywhere else, but because I began to focus on the love in the care of the situation, I focused on the love rather than the situation. Father has shown me things and has administered to me and has been guiding me. And in that process, I just want to thank you because you guys confirmed everything to me today that I know. That I'm listening to the Father's will and that I'm under a tree actually meditating. As you guys began talking about meditation, I was actually coming to the tree and being following you. So thank you.
Aw, you're welcome. Basically, a lot of what we've been discussing today resonates with her, and she has been going through some trying times, and love has been the answer to the challenges. And meditation has been helpful. And just I'm sorry, Michelle, at the beginning of the show, the first thing, remember, that I was touched by was that even though you had challenges with self-reported challenges with camera shy, public speaking, you found that despite, your vulnerability, when you embraced and you actually put yourself out there, the thing that amazed you most was that other people started sharing their testimonies with you and sharing information that you had, for the most part, it sounded like, felt like you were lonely, like you were the only person in the world holding that information, and that the validating and normalizing that you got by opening yourself up, despite your fears, it led you to a bunch of people that, well, they validated your experience, normalized what you're thinking, because they're going through the same thing at the same time. And I think that's kind of what we have done for Tamara today.
And it's pretty admirable. Like, I know there's a lot of people that as soon as this happened, they went straight on YouTube. I needed to take the time to understand it. Maybe I'm a little slow, but I wanted to make sure. I didn't want to be that person that would lead somebody away from themselves or misguide anybody. So there was a lot of things that were, you know, besides the camera shy and, you know, public speaking, but I did have some people invite me on panel shows, which helped break the ice there, and there was a lot going on before I finally said, okay, I'm gonna go for it. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I've met some of the most wonderful and generous people through doing it. I mean, I don't regret it, and I'm going to continue. I don't care that we don't make any money. People are pretty hard on people that get monetized, but you know, like 19 cents a month is really not making a living from YouTube. And
And it,
I've been pretty
yeah,
open, with that. And somebody said, quit doxing yourself. I'm like, why? I'm an open book. I don't care. And so it's more of a passion to the desire of wanting people to seek within and know themselves and how wonderful they are, and what is their strength, what is the ability that they're going after, because that will be the passion. But it doesn't mean that you only have one, you have many.
right. And for those of you listening that would like to check out Michelle's YouTube page, you can simply, I just did it myself to see what it would return. You just simply Google Michelle's opinions, and that's Michelle with one L, Michele apostrophe S, opinions, plural, opinions, Michelle's opinions. Or you can go to YouTube and in the search type in Michelle's opinions. Again, Michelle with one L, and you will find her page, and a very wide range of, I have to say, a very wide range of videos, topics, um, short videos, medium length videos, longer videos. It just is like a treasure trove. Uh, and it's nice to know that Michelle is not trying to fear or use fear to motivate or speak. I used to say all the time, in the healthcare system, these punitive things that they had for like performance review, this, that, and the other thing. I was like, you know what? Don't scare me. Like, oh, if you do this, you're gonna get a warning, then a write up. Sixth grade was whatever, 35, 30 years ago. I want to be inspired. Please, somebody inspire me. Like,
Right. And
you get a
these
lot more on
earthquakes.
for, you you get a lot more bang for your buck when you have the ability to inspire your employees or such than when you control them with fear.
Oh yes, they'll work, harder and because of they like you and they want to do it. Do you remember the earthquakes on the 4th and 5th of July in California?
Mm-hmm.
There
Sure do.
the reason I put that video up giving the true information, number 1, I was impacted by them, both of them. And number 2, they were talking about and calling it the San Andreas Fault. And oh no, California's going into the ocean. So I went ahead and I did do a short clip on the earthquakes, showing people where they hit. It was a very small. Uh, there is another fault line, but it runs east to west, not north to south. San Andreas runs north to south, so you can see where the quakes hit, and by the higher the ticker goes, the more it will radiate out. And so, if I see like a little bit of fear being passed around and it's just from lack of knowledge or research, it's, real easy for me, especially since I felt them and I'm here in the area, to go ahead and get the local news. And I did not know this, but we had several hundred earthquakes in those 2 days. And they're still probably quaking now, but they go from 1.5 up to a 5.0. And a 5.0 is not nothing to sneeze at. That's a pretty good quake if you're at ground zero. But when we had that 7.1, whoa Nelly. We were 5 miles closer to that ground zero than we were the one on July 4th, which was a 6.6, but they downgraded it to a 6.4. But I did put one up on that just to let people know there's nothing to be afraid of. It's not the San Andreas fault. We're not falling into the ocean. Don't panic, but be prepared.
Yeah. Well, I have a funny story to tell you. One of our beloved cast of characters, who's not in the chat room currently, but G7 is out in that area too. And G7 is very chill. I can only wish to be that chill. But I asked him, did you feel it? And he goes, yeah. I go, what were you doing? He was napping or sleeping at the time, and he said his brother came in or something, and he was like, did you feel that? And he said that his response was like, what am I gonna do? Like, what am I gonna do? He stayed in bed. And I go, you stayed in bed? And he goes, yeah. He's like, and I said, what did it feel like? He said, I had to laugh. He said it kind of felt like you were on a boat and, a wave was underneath you. And I was like, isn't that kind of what an earthquake is? Like, it's a wave underneath you.
Yes.
But he was just so chill about it. He goes, I just went back to sleep. And it's interesting that people are different, right? And they all have like different reactions and responses. It was comical to me because I've never lived in a earthquake zone, if you will. And if I did, I'd be freaking the hell out. I wouldn't know what to do. Oh my gosh.
Well, it's basically the same thing. If you live in a tornado zone or whatever, they always tell you to get underneath your desk. Just think about the drills when you were in school. They're all the same. If a nuclear sirens go off, get under your desk. But my thought was, depending on where your location is, if you're in a highly populated area, okay, go underneath the kitchen table with your family. But if you're not, go outside and make sure that you're not underneath any light posts or anything that will fall down on you, and just stand there and wait it out. Now, the weird thing about the second one the 7.1, when I first went and did the research on it, it showed it at a 0 ground level. And when I looked at it again, it was at I think an 8 ground level. So at first, the machinery came up with 0 ground level. That's odd to have a such a severe quake that we felt so far out at a 0 ground level. So that sounds like boys playing with their toys. But then they changed it to 8. I think sometimes it takes a little longer for the secondary equipment, like how deep underground, or or where the quake or the shifting actually happened.
See, this is all new information to me. And even though I have been in Texas, um, I have not yet. I've had a tornado touchdown like a mile from me, but I still have no idea what to do if a tornado is actually like in the area. Um,
Tornado, I think they want you to get in your bathtub
that makes sense.
because it's heavy, and throw something over the top of you, get your family in the
But,
bathtub
uh,
together, and throw a soft blanket over the top of you and just wait it out. Or go, if you have a cellar, go to your cellar and
yeah,
get
not many
underground.
houses Dallas have basements. That was another huge thing because when they talked about it, and we were always told in Western Pennsylvania that the mountains break up any kind of tornado funnel clouds before they would ever touch down. And so every time I remember being scared of thunderstorms and my mother saying, "Oh, the thunder's just angels bowling in the sky." Oh, sounds like they just got a strike.
Oh my gosh.
She was like, there's not going to be a tornado here. But we were told that you go to the basement and I don't know, you face a certain corner or something like that. And I'm like, okay, great. I'm in Texas and it's like, okay, tornado central and there's no basements? Like, now what am I supposed to
You put your basics, Tamara.
I'm sorry, what was that, Tamara?
It sounds ritualistic to me that they would teach us those things.
Yeah,
But
it would be
why would you
nice.
give them a test? And why don't we have enough faith that we believe that Father will restore and keep us no matter what situation we're in? Also, I found, what did you see? I found it in my body. About, you asked about it. Oh, that's me.
Mm.
There was something in the Magnolian I found confirmation. You were laughing about it, but what was it? You asked about the thunder. The thunder is actually the voice of Christ.
Well, maybe it is. Maybe that's why my mother used to say it was the angels bowling. I have no idea. But to use Michelle's word, we're all in I love this, refining process in search of reality, which usually starts, would you say it starts after you discover there is an illusion?
I think that when we come in, we make some kind of agreement, and we're like, this looks easy. And then when we're born, we forget everything and then have to start over, even though we have all the equipment. We then go to school and follow along with the curriculum, and then church and follow along with that curriculum, and the individual sovereignty now has become like robotic, and we have to rediscover ourselves. And that's why it's
Yeah.
the game of life. And then you level up and move forward, and as you go, you lose the fear. It's replaced by love, and you care for one another. You really care when somebody is sick. You really genuinely care when somebody's had a loss. You're very happy when somebody's getting married. I mean, the true, authentic emotions then will flow from your heart instead of
Right.
our
The
mind.
authenticity is key.
Yes.
because it's very challenging. I think in the early stages of refining yourself, it's very hard to differentiate between what is authentic to me versus what I think is authentic to me based on the social programming I've received. And there's a quote that I love that says, "Get out of the mind prison that was socially programmed."
Well, and even in the Bible, it says, "Come out of her, my people."
Yeah.
So what are we in that we are not supposed to be in? We're just not free thinkers. We're in an oligarchy type of a hierarchy, and
Hmm.
we don't need that. We're not a bunch of animals that need training. Our parents raise us up and help us to become. But see, they don't know any different than what how they were raised. So there's got to
Right.
be a point where the cycle is broken, where,
Right.
and that's I think where we're at now, is we're learning to take responsibility for our actions. Don't blame shift. Don't tell fibs. Be honest. Be yourself. And if people don't like you for you, just walk on. Just,
Yeah, who cares? I
yeah,
mean, honest to God.
that's right. Walk on. Just, you don't have to comply. If you feel like you're having to compromise yourself and your personality because somebody else is telling you you have to, well, then you're, surrounding yourself again with the makings of a cult like, which can go
Right,
south very, very quickly.
right, right. It's only going to serve you. It's not going to serve you to your higher self. By the way, mascot, Golden Wizard. Yes, yes, you, Golden Wizard. Golden Wizard is here in the new way on Steampunk Radio. He says, "No offense, Michelle, but he said, I do believe humans are animals that need to be trained. We, those that are classified as animals, we know our shit." He can get a little salty at times, salty with his mouth, because I'm sorry, he is a yes, he is a badass. And he said, example, in a tsunami, animals know to search for higher ground.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like with the earthquake, I was telling people follow the animals
Yeah,
because they
which
have
I didn't
instincts.
know. Yeah, there was this crazy storm on June 9th in Dallas, and Wendy, who's in our chat room also, she had told me that before a big storm, and that day there was only 20% chance of rain, this crazy weird storm hit. I won't go into it, but it was weird because a couple hours before the storm hit, I remember the birds being very, 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 very chatty. And I even like kind of, this is just my personality. I was like tweet, 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 like back to the birds, and not even recognizing that that was a sign that the birds were like sending out messages to one another that, hey, shit's rolling through in a couple hours. Like, and then just as the storm started, which started out like, all right, so there's like a low rumble in the cloud or whatever, there was not a bird to be heard. It was so eerily still and silent. And so, okay, Golden Wizard just abandoned us. He's like, I made my point. He's going to check other things out in the house. But so
I
he
didn't
and
even.
he
I
and
looked for his comment. I didn't see it. So he must be on the radio.
well, yes, he mind messages me. Golden Wizard is this dog that's half miniature pincher and half Chihuahua. He was dumped on my street, and
Oh, you're talking to your dog?
yep, well, he's not. He's the mascot for the new way.
You're funny. Okay, I gotcha. I gotcha. Okay.
And he has some kind of mind resonance with Dr. Lenny Time as well. So yeah, he's quite a character. Regardless, he just he'll look at me and I kind of know what he's communicating. I know it sounds ridiculous, but again, I'm clairsentient, and he just wanted to make that comment that he thinks people are animals that could benefit from some training from me
Well,
to
isn't
handle.
that what I was saying? Is our parents can
Yes,
do that? Uh,
yes,
we don't need overlap, overlap, overlap. And sometimes I have to say, the school will ask things of us, and that our parents don't even agree with, but our parents are losing their voice in
yes,
bringing us up. So we've got some things that we need to overcome and that
right.
we need to get back in order. And yeah, we do live in a beast system right now. I think that's what we're trying to, you know, move away from. And the beast system, has cult leaders and leadership, and we have to follow, or we go to jail, or we do, and sometimes they're not the up and up people. So if a cop wants you to go to jail, they'll find something to put you in jail for. You know what I'm saying? Now
Oh,
that's
yeah.
the beast system. That's the stuff we want to get rid of. The corruption and the fear that that could happen to you, because I remember a time when we called them peace officers, not
Yeah.
police officers.
No kidding. What happened to, yes. And this is interesting because for literally 20 years in a row straight, I needed to recertify, kind of like first aid CPR for, lifeguards, obviously nurses, that kind of thing. There's this thing called crisis intervention prevention. It's also the Tory method, and there's a separate one that's for reducing aggression and managing behavior in children and adolescents. So I have to go through my annual certification and training of all that. And these techniques are brilliant. I mean, I have busted up slumber parties on like the seventh floor in the children's hospital. Like, these techniques like really, really, really work. And I'm like, why the hell doesn't our police department do that? And it was interesting when I went down that route, found out that a lot of their training is done by one, get this, corporate contractor, and they go to these trainings, and guess what they do in the training, Michelle? They fearmonger, and they
Oh,
show photos, pictures, stories of people that had been shot on duty. And so when, and I'm not saying that those risks aren't real, okay? But
right.
this era of like trigger happy, um, you know, does it really start with one bad person that's not refined, or does it start with somebody that's been mentally programmed to fear first? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. They're
And why the hell?
reacting
Yeah, I mean,
before an action. They're putting the
right. And
cart
why the
before the
hell would
horse.
you pursue that field if that's the kind of person you are? Look, I worked level 1 trauma for 22 years, and I was very good, very, very good friends and very friendly with all the police at Zone 2 in Pittsburgh, because our trauma hospital was right by the jail. So they always stopped by with people they were apprehending, this kind of a thing. And the other thing, not to mention that Pittsburgh, it's a tight city. And so the people were walking wounded. That it was faster to walk sometimes than to actually wait for an ambulance to take you up. And people would just walk in with gunshot whatnot.
Oh
And
God.
I will never forget Officer Sellers. Um, we had been great friends ever since he took the call when marijuana pot was found in the newborn baby's bassinet.
Oh my gosh.
And it was,
Really?
oh yeah. And when we went up to the room, there was a cooler. He opened it up, and there was a bunch of like bush beer and like all this other stuff. And it was the middle of the night, and the nurse was like, "I don't really know what the protocol is this, but we took the newborn in the bassinet into the nursery," and she's like, "There's pot in it."
Oh my
Like,
God.
what do I do?
Was it
Like,
legal at that time or no?
I don't know. This is like 2002.
Oh God, definitely not legal then.
And in Pennsylvania, no, it was not.
Well, my baby
Anyway,
has a
so
big problem.
Yeah, exactly. So you can imagine, like, this is how my friendship starts with him. But regularly see him because he works the night beat, I work the night beat, and all the nurses, charge nurses, like we all get to know each other because it's like, nice to see you again, da 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 da, whatever. And he comes in from a drug deal gone bad, and
Not
the
really. Baby had
well,
the
this
baby had the
yeah,
drugs.
oh, that's right. Yeah, but this was probably a couple years later, though. And so the supposed perp was like on foot. And in his 17 years on the police force, or maybe it was like 16 at the time, he had never, ever, even though it was like the beat of where the most penetrating trauma, gunshot, stabbing, and that kind of stuff is, he had never, ever drawn his weapon. And I had never seen him so unsteady. He was so like, he was shaking. I was like, dude, are you okay? And, he's like, is the victim that was shot, is he able to talk? And I was like, no, like he's completely unconscious. He's intubated right now. And he goes, okay, I gotta go back on the streets. I'm like, yo, I'm like, Ryan, are you okay? I'm like, I've never seen you like this. He goes, I just drew my weapon for the first time in my entire police career. And he said when he shot it, he purposely shot it like up, like into the air as like kind of like a warning shot because he was
Mm-hmm.
shot at first, and he shot it like as a warning shot, saying like, "Look, I'm on foot, I'm falling, like give up." Um, and that's all. This was 2004. He had been doing police for 15, 16, 17 years at that point. We have a whole new generation right now. And we're at the end of the show almost.
Oh
But
my gosh. Oh my gosh. It went fast.
yeah, that's what happens when we have good convo,
Oh my
good
god.
conversation, and
You want to end it on some crazy stuff?
uh
We got what? 4 minutes?
4
Yeah.
minutes. How
Okay.
crazy.
Crazy. Has anybody seen or felt like they are in a spaceship? In your dreams, I mean. Not like, or I guess
No,
awake.
not in my dreams, but I did see UFOs for the first time in my life on 10th, the day after that crazy Dallas storm when there was basically a blackout
Really?
because there was no power.
I've seen them in, well, I've seen a shadow of one in light, and I've seen them in visions and dreams.
Interesting. Dr. Lenny, how about yourself?
I have been looking at different variables of space from all different perspectives almost since the time I first saw Star Trek. And so not only have I had space dreams, but I can step into roles in the space age if that's called for. And so I think we're being programmed to go to space as the next transformation, just the same way that the post World War II people were programmed by Donna Reed and the Brady Bunch. So the narrative for the next 80 years will be all those science fiction novels that we read by Heinlein and Isaac Asimov and people like that. Stranger in a Strange Land is probably the one that comes to mind. And that's almost the character role I think I'm in right now, is Michael J. Smith, a Martian who has landed here on Earth and nothing is as it should be.
Well, I think that sounds like a subject that maybe we should put on the calendar, a content calendar for one day next week, because we don't want to leave our listeners hanging, of course. Michelle, did you have more to add?
Oh, I just also there's book readings on there on the channel too if you're into that, and I do put the text to type so it's read to you and you can read along. with
Oh,
some of these hard to get books and that are very interesting. You know,
uh,
the Book of the Damned is not what it sounds like. It's a book, you know, Lenny probably knows this. It's a book of science that was damned from being let out into the public. And a scientist who he had access to the catacombs underneath of the Vatican and the Smithsonian, and
whoa.
he got fed up with them not telling what it actually was that they found. So it's a pretty interesting, and that I will be picking up back up with that. I've done 2 parts on it so far.
So cool. Well, that's awesome. We're in the last minute of the new way. For those of you hanging on the radio, hanging out for your next show, enjoy your Alex Jones. We are listening to Steampunk Radio today. We've been talking to Michelle and others in the cast of characters here in the Discord chat house. And basically, we talked about a lot of things, but the main focus has been reality and what drives us towards it. Enjoy your day and over and out.
Thank you for having me.
It was a joy. Thank you.